All right, you're back with the Italian Sports Guys. Bada boom.
Bada bing. Benvenuti, Craigie boy.
Benvenuti. Of course, this is the Brian Scheck Snyder State Farm Italian Sports Guys show. We move, of course, to our LSU Tigers in the college ranks. Kyle, this was a beatdown. Any way you can slice it. Oklahoma came in here, well-regarded team. We thought this was probably the fourth strongest teams we've seen in a long time in the college playoff system. It was never in doubt.
Yeah, LSU took control of the game right from the start. 3 and out for Oklahoma on their first series. Tigers drive down, get a touchdown. OU did answer with a score, but by and large, it was a beatdown. And from a personal standpoint, I have bragging rights over the wife going forward for the next. I've had him since '03, but that was wearing old. So I can only wave the Justin Vincent Marcus Spears finger in the face so many times. Yeah. And now I got bragging rights, but. A good Oklahoma team, but a really, really good LSU team, and they were clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow does what Joe Burrow you thought he would do. Jefferson had a historic day, but Burrow, 29 of 39, accounted for 7 passing touchdowns in the first half, a record, 8 total touchdowns, another record. Simply incredible.
Yeah, what can you say? This kid continues to impress. You know, you don't think he can do a whole lot better, and he gets better. Yeah. Or he plays as well. And you're waiting for that fall-off game, and he doesn't have it. Yeah. So... kudos to the Tigers, an incredible game plan. Hearts out to the Ensminger family, and I know you're going to mention something with that with Carly McCord later on, but just a real emotional day for the Tiger community, and to come out and play the way they did, and at least for the moment, you know, let Steve Ensminger enjoy will be a very emotional time during the holidays for his family. So
yeah, certainly no comparison to football game to what happened in Lafayette, of course, but which really should have been one of the happiest times for his family to celebrate. Certainly tragic for that to happen on this day. Nice gesture, Sugar Bowl and some others have left a kind of a pass in the press box for when Carly's name with some flowers there.
Delightful young lady.
Yeah, and the thing, you know, a lot of folks have spoken out, Sean Payton included. One of the things is, you know, she was kind of a freelancer, so she worked for DSU, she worked for the Saints some, so she was so visible in so many different ways because she worked in so many different media outlets that she was just so well known and such an upbeat person as well.
Yeah, and even in the stands of the Pelicans game, she had a little, role there, and everyone, one of those people everyone seemed to like, all the way up to Michelle Tafoya, who when she was here for a Sunday night game, Carly McCord made the gesture to reach out to her and say, "I'd like to sit and pick your brain," and that was about saying, "Hey, young woman, young lady, reporter, tell me about your path." And Michelle Tafoya, bless her heart, really took to the young lady, and so there was a connection and a relationship there, and you know, she did all the right things in career-wise and seemed to be just a wonderful young lady, and just really, really sad. And you know, your thoughts and prayers with the Ensminger family through this tough time.
Absolutely, and certainly you look back to the game. You know, what really impressed me here was the defense. I mean, we knew the offense would be prolific and probably not they wouldn't really be able to stop us, but boy, the defense really made it tough on a guy who was a Heisman candidate, of course. Really made it tough. Made him look not like a Heisman candidate. They really
6'3", 220-pound quarterback who could run. The LSU has had their share of problems with running quarterbacks this year, and so you know, the one big play he had, you know, Caleb Von Chason sucked in again and they corrected that problem right away, and LSU was just tough as nails on defense. At one point, I believe Joe Burrow had more touchdown passes than Jalen Hurts had completions in the third quarter of that game.
Yeah, you look at this defense, I think they certainly took the challenge. I mean, they were talked about not being a complete team midway through the season. Down the stretch, they really took that to heart and really concentrated on finishing games very well, not just winning games and big blowout. Really
They've played well all season, a half at a time.
Yeah, right.
And they're starting to put full games together, and couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah. I mentioned to you before the show, too, you know, Oklahoma's biggest loss in the last 3 years with Lincoln Riley was 11 points. LSU led this game at one point by 42 points. I mean, at some point you have to keep saying, you know, you keep saying people keep waiting for this team to meet their match. At some point you just have to say they're that good because you keep looking back at the teams that they beat and how they play against other teams. You look at a Georgia team, their defense looked like they were all-world last night against Baylor. The LSU laid 37 on them and made it look easy and pulled back the reins late.
Miles Brennan finished that game for the Tigers.
That's right. Texas, a team that maybe didn't look as good since we beat them, but they looked pretty good in the bowl game last week. So you look at these teams we've been knocking down, these dominoes, Florida as well. You know, teams that play well outside of the games where we beat them.
You got to maintain and keep that little bit of apprehension about, is this the time when we don't really show up and play as dominant as we can?
Yeah.
Because to me, the time when you say, yeah, we got this and check the box, is when you get beat.
Yeah.
So look, and that's just from a fan's point of view. In that locker room, in that facility, They look to me to be pretty dialed in, as does Clemson.
Yeah.
But both teams look to be really dialed in. This is a clash of the Titans, and I don't know what the spread is. I believe it's up to 4.5 or 5.
Last I saw it was 5.5. Yeah.
But Clemson, make no mistake about it, Tiger fans. LSU Tiger fans. Clemson comes to town, winners of 29 straight.
Yeah.
Okay, they are the defending national champions. They have guys on that team who have started for 2 years who haven't lost a game, including the starting quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Never lost a game in college. So champions die hard, man.
Yeah.
And so it's not at the point where LSU pulls up to a fairly decent lead. No, we got this. You have to finish this off. Every detail, every play counts here. They're loaded. They're really good. And this will be the best team LSU's played all year.
Yeah, well, nobody knows finishing a game against Clemson like Ohio State last week. Of course, they led this game with 16-zip, and Clemson comes back. Really a signature moment for this young quarterback. I mean, he's projected to be one of the best prospects since maybe Andrew Luck in terms of the pure quarterback. And really, he was biggest in the biggest moment.
Got better hair than Andrew Luck.
That's right, better hair than Andrew. But he really was big in the big moment in this game when they really needed him.
Oh, that's what this kid's all about. That's what winners do. That's what champions do. He is the heart and soul of that team. Kind of took over last year, but it was just such a senior-laden team with the front four on defense that all got drafted, and like 3 of them in the first round, I believe, and the defensive backs they had some veteran guys back there, and so now it's been his team this year, and he hasn't disappointed. They had some speed bumps earlier in the year. A lot of people questioned him, but boy, if you look at their last 5 or 6 games when they've really turned it on, they have been more than impressive. They have been dominant. You look at that roster, Craig. You got Trevor Lawrence, who's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick next year. He'll go into the year, at least with that. Travis Etienne from Jennings High School.
One that got away, yeah.
He's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, too. I can tell you that. Because he feels like LSU slow played him. And even if they didn't, they did offer him. Right. It's still what you tell yourself. Right. And, you throw that out there in today's world. Wide receiver John Ross, the speed merchant from Alabama, one that got away from the Tide and put it on them last year. A little nicked up in the game against Ohio State, but I think he'll be healthy by the time these two teams meet. And their bell cow wide receiver is T. Huggins, 6'4", 205 pounds, going to be a top 20 pick in the upcoming NFL draft. All that being said, aside from Lawrence, and maybe even with Lawrence, their best player is linebacker Isaiah Simmons. This is the Butkus Award winner. A guy who makes plays all over the field. He can rush the passer. He can play the run. He can drop back into coverage, and he's a sure tackler. So he's like a Brian Urlacher. Brian Urlacher actually returned some punts in college. I have a feeling if they had to put this kid back here, he could do it. So
yeah. You look at this Clemson team, of course, maybe a tired narrative, but Dabo Swinney's going to use it. How many teams that go 29 over 2 years can point to themselves as an underdog in a tough environment? I mean, he's going to play that up, of course.
He's going to call himself little old Clemson and say we don't belong here. He's going to tell them that.
We didn't get the respect. That's right. We didn't get the respect.
We beat an SEC team last year. Let's go beat another one this year. That kind of thing. Right. I can't wait for this, and this is going to be one for the ages, if you ask me.
Yeah, and they played in a weaker conference. There's no doubt about it. But they did what they had to do. They won impressively, won all these ball games.
Only play who's on your schedule.
That's right. It's only all you can play. Really, the one hiccup they almost had was against North Carolina. That Carolina had a chance to go for 2 and beat that, or get ahead late in the game, and did not convert.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on what the keys to victory in this ball game?
I'll say this: if you watched it, I think Ohio State had a real chance to kind of knock them out early on, and their red zone offense sputtered. Yeah. A lot of that is Clemson's red zone defense, but Ohio State had their chances and didn't complete a few plays. LSU's red zone offense has been magnificent this year. Yeah. I think the Tigers need to make those plays, and if they do, if it's in a similar type situation and they make those plays, that'll be the difference in the game. J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State was over 120-something yards in the first quarter.
A real gamer, a little dinged up, too.
And then he got dinged up, and things trailed off for him. Yeah. If there's a back in the country that reminds me of J.K. Dobbins, his name's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah. A shifty, smaller guy, can catch the ball out of the backfield. You give him a crease, and he's kind of sort of gone. And I think that's going to be the difference. One of the key plays in that game was J.K. Dobbins breaking one, and Clemson linebacker, 19, his name escapes right now, ran him down and swung at that heel and got it. And they held Ohio State to a field goal. And instead of trailing 20-0, they were down 16-0. It was still a ball game. And Clemson did what good teams do. They did what champions do. You keep fighting and you find a way to win. And they did it. And Trevor Lawrence was a warrior the other night. But I like LSU's chances. I think we throw more talent at them than Ohio State from the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, the Tigers seem to have found their stride. And look, everybody says 29-0 Clemson, how much more battle-tested can the team be? Well, teams from the SEC West can be just as battle-tested when you play LSU's schedule.
No question.
So we'll see.
And Michael Divinity comes back this week for the championship game.
Yeah, don't know what his role will be, if he slides right back in, if he plays a little bit, but it's a damn good pet to have on his sideline if you need him, if you're not going to start him.
Okay. All right, Kyle. Good time to be a sports fan of Louisiana and South Louisiana, of course. I want to give a shout out too, of course. SLU and Nichols both had good seasons once again. Again, made the playoffs and won one playoff game in FCS.
Coach of the year, Frank Selfa.
That's right. ULL, a fantastic season again, double-digit wins there.
Bowl game coming up.
I want to give a shout out to some of our alums too from Rummel High School. Let me start with Donovan Kaufman, and we hadn't done a show since the high school championship game.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen a player take over a ball game to the extent that he has at any level of football. 11 tackles, 9 solo. He had a strip and takeaway and recovery on a punt. He ran back a kickoff that was the winning score for this team, and he had the clinching interception late in the game. He ran the ball for a touchdown. I don't know how many more.
Both of Rummel's touchdowns.
That's right. I don't know how much more you can do. Rummel wins that one 14-10. This kid is a great kid. And
finished the year right top 10 in the country.
And he's a 3.5 above GPA.
Vanderbilt commit.
Yep.
Who knows where he's going to end up?
Yep.
The Tigers are starting to move in on a pretty good. The LSU Tigers and a lot of other big schools as well. Florida State, to name a few. He's a wonderful kid. Like you said, 3.5 GPA.
Yeah.
And you know what he wants to do for his career?
What's that?
He wants to be a priest.
Oh, good for him.
So to top it off, again, if he doesn't become a priest, he's a guy you introduce to your daughter. You know what I mean? So a fantastic young man, and I had a chance to go over to the field house after that win, and I had my buddy and my buddy's son, who my buddy wore the same number Donovan wore years ago. So he saw the kid with the 5 jersey on, went and patted him on the head. Signed his game cleats and gave him to him. He's a tremendous young man, Vanderbilt, if you get him, you're getting a damn good one.
No doubt about it. And a couple other shout-outs. Jamar Chase, again, who we saw in high school at Rummel, a Blitnikoff Award winner. All 3 receivers did well early in the season. He really became the dominant receiver late in the season for this team, especially in terms of touchdowns. A great comeback story, Christian Fulton. Talked about how much Coach O meant to Joe Burrow when he won that Heisman Trophy. Christian Fulton, here's a kid who made a mistake, was suspended for the first couple of years there. I remember Coach O saying back then, I think this kid's going to be a great comeback story one day, and certainly he's been tremendous. Some of the mock drafts, I see him late first round. One I've seen recently even as high as mid first round. I saw him going perhaps to Philadelphia, so he's going to be a great story. And Chase Forcade finishes out a great career at Nicholls State. Hopefully he'll get a shot at a training camp somewhere down the road. I
have no doubt that Chase Forcade is going to somebody's training camp. Yeah. He's had that kind of career, and I think he's going to, at the very least, be a camp arm. I think he'll last in the league a little while. You have another league coming up.
That's right.
And then guys who may end up in the mix drafted this year. First, you look at LSU's roster, backtrack a little bit. Colby Brunet getting some time on special teams. Evan Francione getting some time on special teams. Coy Moore heading over there next year. And you look at a guy, Israel Tucker, kind of forgotten man, blew his knee out early on in his career at Louisiana Tech. He's a Boston Scott type back, and Boston Scott played at Louisiana Tech. So there's another guy that might end up getting a shot to play on somebody's roster.
Yeah, as a kid, he had a touchdown in the Independence Bowl. A great win for them as well, beating Miami, the U. That's right. I saw a stat where I think Miami has like 33 4- or 5-star players. Louisiana Tech won, and they still beat this team 14-0, shut them out.
Coaching and commitment.
And a great story.
And the strength and conditioning coach, Kurt Hester's a college buddy.
And you mentioned the comeback. This kid had a serious knee injury in his junior year in high school.
Yeah.
Parents, again, concerned he wasn't going to get an offer. Comes back strong, rehabs, and has a nice senior year and gets that scholarship. So good for him. Any other thoughts, Kyle, in the world of sports?
No, Craig. I wonder if you care to make a prediction on the national championship game as well as the Saints game.
Yeah, I think LSU wins this fairly handily. I think it'll be close early. I think LSU pulls away sometime late second quarter, maybe early third. I think it's going to be a 17-point win. I'm going to go 41-24 LSU.
I like it. I hope you're right. I'm going to say close as can be, but LSU gets a late touchdown to kind of seal it, 42-31 LSU Tigers. And then as far as the Saints go, I think you'll see somewhat of a decent ball game again at halftime with the Saints pull away. I'm going to say 38-21 Saints. Okay. 38-24 Saints.
Okay. I'm going to go Saints as well. I'm going to say 36-17. I think Saints are going to dominate this one as well. All right, Kyle, I just want to give a shout out also real quickly to my son, Mikey Vincenzo.
Mikey Vincenzo, don't mess with this guy.
A little Christmas present here. The South is not enough. That's the same. That's the big mantra for the Saints this year.
I'd like to say first of all, shout out to Mikey, and then thanks to everyone in my family, my parents, of course, in-laws, all our aunts and uncles and everybody and cousins who have fed me and given me booze. This is not a case of the camera adding a couple dozen pounds. I've actually really gained these. So I'm Kyle Cortello and a half.
He'll do anything for a roll here.
I'm Kyle Cortello and a half, and you are.
I'm Greg Cotell, and we are
the Italian Sports Guy.
Bada boom.
Bada bing.